Hello and welcome to Warblog. Today we're looking at this Rafah checkpoint assault that's sort of just taken place. Don't know where the checkpoint is, but it's described as being south of Rafah. If it was anywhere near anything else, it would be sort of east of Arish or north or whatever's down here. So I don't think it's too close because Rafah's quite a sprawling sort of location, so I would imagine it'd be on the road here if it's south, so I'll put it there. I've not played it through or anything yet. It's interesting to see Gaza there and all the little locations, our favourite pals, etc. All the usual suspects, I should say. But essentially, what struck me as interesting about it is that it's very similar to, and I don't think I'll be able to find it quickly. No, not the Prison Break. Maybe the Beer at Oil Depot, or maybe not that. Oh look, there's Rafah as well. That's almost as exciting as this game. I shouldn't spend this long trying to find something that's not really worth fighting for, even worth finding. It's here somewhere. You're better off doing a search under Africa. I must have just missed it. Maybe it's this one. No, definitely not that one. Oh, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Anyway, it's basically what I was trying to say is it's similar to one of these ones that's down in the Sudan, I think, or Kenya, and the ISIS sort of elements. They let's see. I'm like that. If I start something, I'd sort of like to finish it, but it's frustrating because it's pointless. Sudan. Oh no, that's because it's Somalia, isn't it? I haven't got anything for Sudan. That's strange. I'll have to do something about that. Somalia. Okay, they're here. So what they had, it's exactly the same. They had a little military base in the middle of nowhere with one lot of units, and in this one they had a lot more troops. In fact, to be quite honest, I should have given a few more troops because I was sort of thinking it's just like that. And in this game it was sort of more of a sort of sure thing, but I think the point was in this one that, and I think it was the Prison Break that I did actually on the other game. Let me see if I can go find the Prison Break because I'm like that. Okay, there's the Prison Break. On this one, the sort of numbers were such that it was sort of a bit hit and miss, whether they succeeded or not. My point here is that when you look at this, although the numbers are a lot higher, maybe I will boost the ISIS numbers, but I've left them sort of as they are, is that it works. If you do it 5 times, it will work 3 times and fail 2 times, or something like that. In this case, the reality of it was that they failed. It was a failed attack. But the thing is, you could say, well, if you could actually go back in time and do it again, would they have succeeded? And what were the odds of it happening, other than just skill? There would have been an element of chance in everything that had happened, from how they were feeling when they got up and went into battle, just the moods of the people defending, whether they'd been alert or not alert, whether they got out the wrong side of bed or whatever, just the things that affect chance. I mean, if you could do it again and again, what the statistical spread would be of success and failure. So that's what I'm sort of trying to that's what I was comparing it against other very similar sort of small forces in checkpoints, hidden by a surprise force, where you've got only a certain number of turns to do it before a larger force appears in Rafah and comes down with the air force. I mean, they really don't have much time to do it. So what we're going to do is move in with these, and let's just see what happens. So I'm going to, I wonder if I ever fixed that thing when they couldn't do the second one. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was here. Insurgent action failed but was not caught. Okay, well, still got movement, so let's get them out of the way. So we've got another insurgent going in. Nope. So that failed as well. And here we have the irregulars going in, and they failed 1-1 and a 10. So essentially that's it. I mean, they're not going to try again. Take a retreat. So their attack failed. But the thing is, if you read the headlines and the news articles that follow it, what we just modelled there, and this is what I always quite often, not so much have to think about, but it's always, I always try to take a step back and sort of think, well, what, I'm pointing to the screen in my hand here, maybe I should do it, yes. But what actually happened there? I mean, it sort of seemed, well, that wasn't very exciting because it's not the Western Front. Well, you put another 120 units down here and then sort of some supply lines and some leaders with some really complicated maths and mechanics going on. Well, yeah, I mean, I admit it's not sort of something that you would, plan a Sunday afternoon for 3 weeks in advance with your pals to sit down and play this particular game. I know, but the thing is, it said at least 23 Egyptian soldiers have been killed and 26 wounded in an attack by jihadist militants in northern Sinai Peninsula, security sources say. A suicide car bomber reportedly targeted a checkpoint outside Rafah. It's the first time I've read this. I might come up with things that think, hang on, didn't know that. Rafah, I speed read things a lot, I sort of speed, that looks good, and then I run with it and realise, I got it all wrong. The military said 40 assailants were killed in the ensuing clashes. So basically 40 of these ISIS people, maybe I should just call them militants, versus 23 Egyptian people. So that was actually not just a 1-1 with an attack and retreat. That was like, was that 63 dead people who will not be putting their socks on tomorrow, and a lot more that will probably be needing help to do that. So-called Islamic State claim the attack. The group is leading an insurgency in the region. Hundreds of soldiers and police have been killed. It's just general blurb now, isn't it? Yeah, so that's that. So it's not just a little thing. So what we're going to do is I'm going to actually just play a game. And I'm just looking out now at the concept of chance, which I sort of mentioned earlier. So if ISIS could have done it again, would their losses have been 40 versus 23, or could they have been different, just based on chance? See, that insurgent action succeeded. And they got 3 depressions. Now that's going to make this next insurgent action a little more likely to work because it's a lesser force in there now. The action failed but was not caught. Okay, so there's 2 car bombs, one went off, so there's lots of smoke coming out from there at one of these checkpoints, and now ISIS are going to do their attack, and hopefully they won't roll a 10 this time, even if they get a 1-1 odds. Well, it's better this time. So the attack is still on. They got 2-1, but they actually got that. So that they got a depression themselves, but now they're on depression 4. So the question is, do these people attack back? And I don't think so, because they would be at a 1-2. But they're better off staying there. So we'll end that turn. Now these, in the Egyptian turn, so now these units are just basically going to sod off because they can't do anything for way too long. And now they get one more go. And another exchange. And so this one probably reflects more, and they're not going to do anything again, but they're under depression 4 and they're under depression 2. So that's the Egyptian turn, not going to do anything again. So now we're going to head off. But in that time, I mean, I'm not trying to say that this is reality or anything like that, but you know, it's just, I'm not even trying to say it is all just down to chance, but I'm just playing the game and just playing with the concept of, you know, parallel universes and, you know, chance. I mean, you know, sometimes these people do attacks and they win, sometimes they don't, and it's sort of, you know, the media will play a lot into sort of, you know, significance on what's actually happened. You know, I mean, the thing is, when the attacker generally makes an assault, they generally choose a target they think they can beat. You know, that's a big factor. So it's not as though they're going to ever choose something that they're certain to lose against. But you know, you know, so the question really is, to some extent, how many sort of Egyptian targets are there in Sinai that are sort of easy, even compared to this? So they certainly wouldn't have attacked Rafah because it would probably been too heavily defended. This checkpoint is probably in the middle of nowhere. There's no pictures of it or anything. So what I'm going to do is just play it one more time. I'm not sure we're going to get better than that. I think we did the two options. That second version was sort of possibly more aligned what happened. Their car bomb went off. They spent a couple of turns, or you know, a fairly fierce firefight, 2 exchanges. That's pretty fierce, and then they retreated. And that's pretty much what the narrative is in the media. So we're going to give this another go and see what happens. Now, I don't think we're going to do better, but we'll see. Well, they succeeded. So now they're down to 3 depressions. So no, they failed. So we got exactly the same stats as last time. And now they're going to do what will probably be a 2-to-1 attack. Okay, and this time they win. 2-to-1 with a perfect dice roll, which means they can go in. And it's the Egyptian turn. Well, they're certainly not going to try and fight into a fortified position, so they're going to Rafah. At least we've got some defence. ISIS turn, they're going to take that. Okay, well, they've destroyed the checkpoint now, but we've got the Egyptian air power coming in. Might as well. They don't damage anything, but in turn these insurgents are now running away, so we consider them to be out of the game. The ISIS have achieved their objective and they've run away, and we'll leave it at that. So I mean, essentially, and also here we now have some Egyptian motorized elements. So got a minute left. So just again, I think that's almost perfect. I can't do those things. I can't make those odds happen. So that was almost perfect. The first game, total loss for ISIS, total failure. Second game, fairly mediocre draw. Third one, they achieved the destruction of the checkpoint and got away, chased by some jets that they managed to evade receiving any sort of serious damage from. So it's just amazing how you can play so much into so little in such a small game with so few pieces, and to analyse what's happening, etc., etc. So I hope you enjoyed that. Remember, if you think you can come up with an even better or different outcome, then sign up and play and see how you fare. And I'll speak to you later. Cheerio, mate.